The United Nations has long served as a central figure in addressing global conflicts, promoting peace, and coordinating humanitarian assistance in regions affected by violence and displacement. In the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the UN plays a pivotal role through organizations like the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, which provides vital services such as healthcare, education, and emergency aid to Palestinian refugees. Yet, as the UN navigates its humanitarian mission, it also faces scrutiny from Israel and other stakeholders who question the integrity of some operations and personnel. The presence of alleged Hamas-linked individuals within UNRWA has sparked concerns over neutrality, prompting Israel to demand greater accountability from the UN in these volatile regions. From Israel's perspective, the land is not merely a political entity but a deeply rooted historical homeland central to Jewish identity. This connection spans over 3,000 years, and the modern state of Israel represents both the realization of ancient promises and the resilience of the Jewish people through centuries of persecution and displacement. The 1947 UN Partition Plan, which proposed a two-state solution, was accepted by Israel but rejected by neighboring Arab states, resulting in immediate conflict. Since then, Israel has faced multiple wars and ongoing security challenges as it defends its sovereignty and the safety of its citizens. This history reinforces Israel's view of its land as essential to its identity, survival, and cultural heritage, influencing its stance on UN activities and regional security. The enduring tension highlights the UN's complex role in mediating between humanitarian goals and the national security concerns of Israel. Hostage crisis. The representative described the traumatic experiences of freed hostages, especially detailing the ordeal of Amit Susana, who suffered abuse, and begged the UN for decisive action to secure the release of others still held captive by Hamas. Criticism of UNRWA. The representative criticized the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, alleging it has been infiltrated by Hamas and is complicit in terror activities. Specific accusations include UNRWA personnel being involved in weapon storage, terrorist activities, and that some employees are Hamas operatives. Humanitarian efforts. Israel's ongoing humanitarian aid to Gaza was highlighted, with mention of medical aid, food supplies, and vaccinations. However, the representative expressed frustration, claiming Hamas divert or misuses this aid. Security operations against Hezbollah. The speech detailed Israeli security actions against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, describing efforts to dismantle tunnels and weapons storage areas near civilian locations, often near UNIFIL, UN peacekeeping forces, bases. The representative argued that Hezbollah's actions pose a threat to both Israeli and Lebanese civilians, as well as peacekeepers. Israel's historical perspective. In a call for international understanding, the speaker reflected on Israel's historical struggles, stating that the UN Partition Plan did not gift Israel to the Jewish people, but rather recognized a historical homeland. The speech emphasized Israel's determination to defend itself and criticized what it sees as disproportionate scrutiny from the international community. This additional layer of emotional suppression can exacerbate the internal conflict post-release, as suppressed emotions may surge uncontrollably once freedom is regained, causing further destabilization. For Susana and others, the trauma of captivity is also often compounded by a painful memory of feeling abandoned or ignored by the broader international community. Susana's plea for recognition of suffering highlights an underlying sense of neglect that can worsen a survivor's sense of isolation. Feeling overlooked during captivity may deepen distrust and a sense of betrayal, leading to prolonged emotional challenges in reconnecting with society. The experience of captivity for hostages under entities like Hamas, marked by unpredictable violence and oppressive control, often necessitates highly specialized, long-term therapeutic interventions to address these compounded traumas. Survivors not only face the challenge of integrating back into their daily lives, but often struggle to reconcile feelings of guilt, hopelessness, and lingering fears for those still in captivity. Amit Susana's traumatic experience as a hostage held by Hamas embodies the deep psychological and emotional scars that captivity inflicts. Her testimony, as recounted before the UN, reveals not only the immediate physical and psychological violations, but also the extended emotional toll these experiences place on survivors. Captivity under circumstances as severe as Susanna's, marked by violence, isolation, and coercion, often leaves hostages in a perpetual state of hypervigilance and fear, both during and long after their release. Psychological experts frequently discuss captivity trauma in the context of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, see PTSD. Survivors like Susanna may develop intense, lasting symptoms such as flashbacks, emotional numbness, and intense anxiety that affect their ability to rebuild trust and form relationships. The forced confinement, physical assault, and loss of autonomy are experiences that disrupt a survivor's sense of personal safety and agency. In situations like Susanna's, where emotional expression was also suppressed, forbidden even to cry, the hostage experiences a complete disconnection from natural coping mechanisms, such as the release that comes from tears or venting feelings. In the broader perspective, survivors' voices serve as powerful testimonies, urging international bodies to recognize and address hostage situations with utmost urgency. Susanna's recounting of her ordeal sheds light on the wider implications of terrorism's impact on individuals and the collective need for empathetic responses, heightened awareness, and actionable interventions that prioritize the lives and well-being of captives. Furthermore, the ordeal faced by survivors like Susanna underscores the additional burden of carrying memories of those who were not freed, knowing they are still subjected to similar or worse treatment. This phenomenon, known as survivor's guilt, is common among freed hostages and adds an intricate layer to their trauma as they grapple with a heavy sense of responsibility or guilt for their own survival in contrast to the fate of others. This combination of survival trauma, coupled with complex emotional burdens, often extends the path to healing for former hostages. The United Nations has long played a crucial role in the Palestinian territories, particularly through the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, which was established to address the unique needs of Palestinian refugees. UNRWA has provided critical resources and support, including education, healthcare, and basic services, which have often been unavailable elsewhere. Through its comprehensive relief programs, the UN has mitigated suffering, offered some stability, and reduced the likelihood of greater humanitarian crises, ultimately aiming to foster conditions for future peace. UNRWA's extensive network and experience within Gaza have enabled it to remain operational and provide aid in volatile circumstances where other organizations cannot. Its staff members, predominantly local Palestinians, understand the community's needs and challenges, allowing the UN to deliver aid in ways that are culturally sensitive and highly impactful. The UN's dedication to impartiality allows it to work in hostile environments, and its recognition by both Palestinian and Israeli authorities further enables it to mediate and facilitate humanitarian support, without which many more lives could be lost. When individuals with connections to Hamas are employed by the UN, the organization's credibility and impartiality are brought into question. This not only weakens trust from donor countries but also risks undermining the broader UN mission, as perceptions of bias or partiality can make it difficult for the UN to act as a mediator. Additionally, evidence of Hamas-affiliated personnel diminishes the UN's ability to function as a trusted intermediary in peace efforts, making it more challenging for stakeholders on all sides to respect and support UN initiatives. While the UN, particularly through UNRWA, has provided invaluable services and stability in Gaza and the West Bank, the influence of Hamas-loyal personnel presents an undeniable challenge. The UN must address these issues transparently, implementing stringent vetting processes and reinforcing neutrality policies to maintain its credibility and effectiveness. Balancing a commitment to humanitarian aid with safeguards against political affiliations will allow the UN to continue its critical role without compromising its principles. The United Nations' role in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains both critical and contentious. Through agencies like UNRWA, the UN provides indispensable support to Palestinian refugees, often operating under challenging conditions to deliver aid, healthcare, and education. However, the presence of Hamas-linked individuals within UNRWA has raised valid concerns from Israel, which questions the impartiality and safety of UN operations within its borders and neighboring territories. Israel's perspective, deeply rooted in a historical and cultural connection to the land, drives its commitment to security and vigilance against perceived threats. Yet, for a lasting resolution and regional stability, all parties, including Israel, must recognize the importance of dialogue and measured steps towards peace. As the humanitarian toll continues to rise, there is an urgent need for a ceasefire that could allow both sides to reassess and prioritize civilian safety and well-being. For Israel, embracing a ceasefire is a necessary step toward de-escalation, creating a space for renewed negotiations and international cooperation. By supporting peace efforts and addressing security concerns with constructive diplomacy, Israel can safeguard both its historical homeland and the future of its citizens, fostering an environment where sustainable solutions may eventually take root.